we've all got AI. I've got common sense as well.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Do More with Less. We talk to the world's top marketing leaders and thinkers to understand and share how individuals and teams are best responding to that very blunt instruction, do more with less. Today I'm delighted to be with a relatively new friend of mine in Louise Robertson. Now, Lou is an interim CMO, marketing planning, positioning, GTM for B2B SaaS, all of that great stuff. But she's also an absolute rock star, bringing her career experience from businesses such as LexisNexis, Pearson PLC, film giant Agfa, and also B2B startup darlings such as Turtle, to businesses and customers looking to understand their best routes to market. Now, the reason or the subject that Lou and I have agreed upon today is do more with less by using all the brains at your disposal and not just the ones you think are going to help on first glance. And we're talking about ageism. Welcome, Louise. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and older than your average marketeer.
You're really not. I mean, I reckon average marketeers have an age profile much higher, more experienced, more seasoned, and more willing to help and develop people than the one that seems to be LinkedInified. Okay, so I think we're normal. I think people in your generation and my generation are out there and changing businesses and transforming with, I don't know what happens to our energy. I don't feel less energetic, but I certainly feel a greater drive than ever to get our industry firing and help us all get more out of B2B marketing. I mean, your energy is enormous.
I think you can sniff shit. You can sniff rubbish quicker. So I've seen so many processes when I've built brands. With LexisNexis, I launched loads of products. Some bad ones, by the way. LexisNexis Butterworth Trolley. That was a nice product name, wasn't it? That was a bloody mistake. Let the board give you a product name and try and launch it to a load of lawyers who hated it. They just wanted to be Butterworths or Trolley.
What was it called?
LexisNexis Butterworth's Trolley.
Whatever.
Yeah. And it had to have this world logo as well. And it was on 2 lines. It lasted 6 months. And actually the legal profession did a petition against it. And as a marketeer, I didn't want to do it anyway, because LexisNexis is a new US brand. Butterworth and Trolley have hundreds of years. They wrote the law, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So yes, I think what you do is, I've made so many mistakes when I was younger. You learn by the mistakes, but actually I can recognize things. I can sniff out gaps in channels. I know you can use AI for that, but the human touch is that doesn't feel like it'll work in real life. I will try things. I'm very curious, but yeah, we have experience, and I don't know how you put experience into a little box. Yeah.
Well, listen. Let's be clear. Ageism is pretty prevalent in lots and lots of different industries. Okay, but in our industry, it's kind of the most counterintuitive, maddest, and destructive thing. So let's start with how does ageism actually show up? So is it showing up in who gets hired or whose ideas get greened in the room? Or
Yes. I think this is it. So I've been helping people that have been made redundant, not of any age, to be fair. I've just helped a really good content director who's in his 30s get a job, and I was celebrating on Friday for him because he'd been unemployed for 9 months. So out there, whatever your age, it's hard. But there is this golden circle of recruitment. So if you're in marketing, the ideal age would be 25 to 50. Suddenly at 50, for some reason, they think you're old. That's the golden circle of recruitment, mainly because the people recruiting you, the founders in B2B SaaS, most of them fit in the 25 to 50. And it's monkey mirroring. They want someone who they believe is in their peer group. So they don't want their mum, i.e. me, telling them what the best thing to do with marketing. They don't believe that they have no belief in the experience criteria.
So let me just quiz you on that, Lou. You've been head of marketing for dental at Bayer, which is
Bayer Dental.
If you have to choose one of the pharmaceutical giants that everybody is going to bow down and respect to, you might as well put Bayer in there. You've been at the at
Awesome.
the film company Agfa. You've been head of European marketing at LexisNexis, and since then, you've
Yeah,
been
startup
CMO at 100 companies.
So I've actually mentored quite a few of the and helped recruit people into Paddle, um, Babel, all of these startups. So I've done short-term recruitments with them or written their initial journey and then gone back to them. So Turtle, who I love,
Yeah,
they've got an amazing Elliot King's their CMO, but I worked clearing up their marketing before we recruited him. And then I worked with Turtle when they were very in the beginning, so it's sort of,
yeah.
some people appreciate that you have the energy and the focus and the experience and you go back in. So I work with founders that I've known 15 years or someone I've known 15 minutes because there's a
Okay.
connection and it is generally an energy connection. And
But
I'm
my
very
question is,
good at it.
if
Yeah.
you, before you get that energy connection, tried and proven, do these younger founders, 25 to 50, your golden circle, do they not? What do they see? You called it. They see you as mum. Do they not see that any of that huge experience? You were CMO of SaaS companies. Do they
No.
not see that and go, this could be useful to me? Hello, sorry to interrupt. Do More with Less is a podcast and a webinar and a set of events that's made possible entirely by marketing resource group Orbital X. If you would like to know how we credibly claim many millions of pounds worth of pipeline influenced by our marketing resource group support and up to 60% of your closed won deals, give us a call, half an hour with one of us. Really happy to talk to you and explain how that works and how it might look for your business. Thank you for allowing this interruption. Back to the podcast. Do they not see that and go, this could be useful to me?
Some do. Now that's interesting. So one that I was disappointed with, I got into a contract sort of thing, was the CMO was really good, but they definitely needed some channel help. So a short term, maybe a workshop and stuff. Um, and they kept ringing me up, kept talking to me, but and I tried every kind of close, the assumptive close, the date close, the half price close, because I'm I'm in sales as well. But they saw age. They think I'm really cool. I get invited to everything they do. I'm on a WhatsApp chat with their two founders. This was definitely ageism, but I do love the founders, but they've got, there is no one in that business, a bit like Google used to be. I don't think there's anyone in that business over 40.
And just to make sure that we've covered this and it's absolutely clear and we don't sort of skim over it by understanding that it's just implied. For you, what is the jeopardy in ignoring more experienced souls and different brains that have come from a different generation, had all that rich experience of the Matrix and of everything else, and have made those shifts? What's the danger that they face in just ignoring and cutting off at 50? What's the danger here?
I think that when you haven't got experience, we've all got AI. I've got common sense as well. So what I find with some of these founders is someone gives them 3 million and they're like the emperor's new clothes. That we're going to do this, we're going to hire PR. They still haven't really got their product market fit, right? So they go off and they spend. I had one actually email me the other day about Google Ads. And I looked at their website and I said, why are you running Google Ads? Because your website has no method of catching the people that come there, and your story's all over the place. And they were spending £10,000 a month on Google Ads. They understand the mix, so they get the marketing mix right. What they haven't got is the experience of how you build that story platform from what is that story? Have we got the right customers? And if not, how are we going to test the customers? They start spending because probably, I love VCs. A VC has said, or they've watched one of these wonderful YouTube videos that said, let me do your Google advertising. We will, you spend 10 grand, you'll get 100 grand back. They're all out there. I've seen them all. And it's like that experience you can't get in AI. Because if you said to AI, so if you put into ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever you're using, I'm running this XYZ product. How can I take this to market? It will come back. One of the options of channels will be Google Ads. Yep, definitely. And it's like, so an experienced person will say, you're not ready for that yet. And that's that's an everyday example of the most mistakes I see is Google Ads. They haven't put enough effort into their digital footprint. Some of them, even though they're young, are creating lots of content that is dull and white papers with AI. And it's like I was doing a, I'll use a real life example here. So at the moment, trying to get into sales is you're going into a committee of people. So there's been so much, the benchmarking, the sales team, there are 40 current reports on the internet that have been done in the last 6 months on how people buy, and they're almost the same. And they have very similar titles. So it's like, I can tell you that you're not gonna don't write that, it's not gonna break through the ice. I do use well, you and I, we both know, I use AI a lot, but I use it differently to a junior marketeer who's using it for content. I use it to challenge everything. So yeah, I think I'm a challenger, curious human being. And I think that comes from experience.
In one of the coming episodes of Do More with Less, I'll actually be talking to a fabulous woman called Helen Redstone, who's head of brand at Eat Big Fish, the agency that
Oh, yeah.
that works for, to help companies become challenger brands really and differentiate. And they've been working on this extraordinary report for a year and a half, and it's got a year and a half to run, called the cost of being dull. And that's something I really buy into. The enormous cost of putting all of your resources into this positioning or this collateral, whatever, and just sounding like everybody else. But tell me this: what what would you say to a founder who said, "Actually, Lou, I watched your episode of Do More with Less with Mark, um, and you're wrong. It's not about you being old or me worrying that you are behind the curve with technology. It's the fact that because you are um, at that end of your career, you you're gonna be expensive. I can't afford. I'd rather bring in some hotshot with a third of your experience and nous, but that's going to cost me a third of the price. You're going to be too pricey for me."
That it's sort of so what I'd say is I've done a whole blog on this, right? So I'm fractional or interim. So you have me, you don't I'm not a lifetime employee with you. I can be, but I won't be working with you every day. So you're buying my experience in a block. So generally with founders, I will do a power month, a power hour to see if we get on. I charge them for that. Then we go into a workshop situation where we workshop where their weaknesses are. And then I generally do two to 3 days a week for the first couple of months. And we work it out from there. And I do fractional 3 month to 12-month contracts. So, and I can cost that out. So the other thing I do, I'm very, very keen on bringing on board interns and apprentices. I work with a company called Jumpstart. They're fantastic. They're based in Hammersmith, WeWork, and they bring people in that haven't had a first job yet, but they're energetic and they've done marketing related courses. Maybe they haven't done marketing, but they've done acting. Or I work really well with drama students. They make absolutely fantastic marketeers. I also work very well with science graduates that you'd never think would be good at marketing, but they are. So it's sort of, if there's a passion for marketing, bring me in and give me someone to mentor. I'll help you find them too. And their shelf life is long. It's 12 months to 3 years. So you've got me at my X. So if you're paying me 48 grand a year for a fractional role and you're paying someone 26 grand, that's still less than the 200, 140 to
Yeah.
200K that it costs you to have a full-time CMO.
I worry about marketing for this reason alone. I probably know very, very many people with so much experience and so much to offer that are being ignored because I think the assumption is, especially now with the vast proliferation of AI in everything we do, that there are only that it narrows the market for who can be useful. Do you reckon AI's made the ageism problem better or worse for
Oh, now this is again state of mind, right? I was a beta tester of ChatGPT. I love AI. For me, it's so I loved Canva before AI came along. I love Figma because I've got a creative brain. I love word stuff like Grammarly and all the things to make your SEO work. So for me, I absorb new technology and love it. But there are some people, I go to networking events and I have to say there is, at the moment, because of all the redundancies, the fractional and interim and consultant swimming pool has gone from paddling pool to the Atlantic Ocean, right? saying you're a fractional is like saying you're a life coach. Apologies to any life coaches listening to this, but that's where we are, because people have been made redundant from their large companies, and they go in and think, yeah, I'm going to wear a fractional t-shirt. I'll be good at this. And they haven't kept up. So in their day-to-day life, say they've been 5 years with someone like Bayer, they've been working in a matrix. They've been using maybe Microsoft, or they've been using, Dynamics. They've been using software, a stack that was given to them. So whereas the newer marketeers who've sort of leapfrogged jobs are used to using HubSpot, ChatGPT, they've plumbed in Claude. The skill set for today's marketeer is different. So I've said to everybody, a Perplexity AI has a free university. ChatGPT does too. You can learn these things. And I think when you're older, you think, if I can't learn it in 5 minutes, or I watch one video, these are proper things you have to learn. So you, as an older person, you've got to invest to bring your skill set up. So you might be knocked back for jobs, but if you haven't invested and understood your stack was this, you either apply for another Bayer or another that has that stack. But bear in mind that the younger people coming through are AR natives.
Yeah.
You've got to bring your skill set up. And this is nothing to do with experience. This is mindset. Because
So how are you doing that, Lou? Like in between, you know, talking to the market and putting yourself out there, and also, life. How many hours a week, for example, would you imagine that you are online learning? I mean, it sounds like you've got a natural
3
bent
hours.
towards it anyway.
So I do a minimum of 3 hours a week.
Really,
And learning, but some of them are silly learning. Like, I don't know if anyone wants to look at my LinkedIn, I did this animation using Gemini, and it's YMCA, and it's me, because I've made a cartoon. So I have created a cartoon of Lou Robertson, who wears pink, obviously, wears hats and does things, because everybody's doing videos like me, and I just thought that was a bit dull. So the first time I posted her, that article went to 74,000 impressions within 24 hours. The tone of my article hadn't changed, but the content had this fictional woman who I'd say she's about 40, wears pink, she's a little bit out there. I've animated her, she's a bit pragmatic and cheeky. And people send me emails saying she can offend, some people hate her, but the majority of emails say that made me laugh so much. Because rather than eat your own dog food, I love rosé, it says drink your own rosé. It's sort of that I have a comedic value as well. So a lot of the comedy's there, but yes, I do learn. So I think on one of my blogs, I actually give a list of YouTubes that I watch while I'm running. So I run on a treadmill every day. I watch YouTube while I'm running, and it can be anyone from Wes McDowell in the States talking about B2B leadership, and I watch Seth Godin, and I subscribe to Seth Godin. He's older than me, still really good, but his learnings are great. So I think as a marketer, whatever your age, you've got to invest in this. You're a practitioner. So, and I meet lots of people that have made no time. So they are when you're stuck in this wheelhouse of what you do, you're this hamster in your defined wheel. And even if you've got a really great job at the moment, I would say to anyone listening, whatever your age, find time, even if it's an hour a week, to watch something, read something, do something that takes you outside of that wheel.
Do you know what? I was at dinner with some colleagues about a year ago, I guess. And I can't remember how it came up. And maybe I had a book in my bag and I put it back in my bag when everyone turned up and I was the first at the table or something. But somebody said, "What are you reading?" And I pulled it out, and it was a novel. And I said, "What kind of books do you like to read?" And everyone around the table, it was really interesting. Everyone around the table read exclusively business or self-help books, and I was the only one there reading novels as well as those things. Like, I've got books on my desk that are, the same sort of. I bet we all have the same sort of overlap of library of the self-help books and the business books and
The storytelling is my latest big one. But you can't. The thing with those is, right, you pick them up. I don't think you can read one back to back. I tend to, with those, I have them by my bed. I read a chapter, I write all over it, highlight it, write on it. Some of it transfers to my my thoughts book, my Some Girls Are Born with Diamonds, etc. So I've got a pink book somewhere all the time. So I transfer it, but I don't. Someone gave me an AI, Nikki Wilton, very good friend of mine, gave me this AI book, and it's that thick. And I started reading it, and I couldn't get past chapter 1.
Yeah, I think you get to a point with all those books where the message is clear and strong,
Yeah.
but by chapter 7, it's like, right, I've got it now. I get it. I get what you're saying. But my interest was that nobody was reading stories or novels, and I asked around, and I think the people I was talking to were like, just it's not my thing, or I haven't read one of those since I was a kid, or whatever. I was like,
Why?
I don't know how your brain can stay in one channel all the time of the learning and the AI and this is how great businesses are run, and this is the big, like, where's the part where you stretch out and relax into a dream or a story or an imagined scenario, or like let your whole body just be sort of swept up with somebody else's imagined scenario? Like, I genuinely think there's something there in terms of, if you look at the marketers like you and me, and you insisted when we had tea last week at the bookshop that we're not the same generation. But in terms of what we're talking about, we're the same end of the career. And those that are coming through, who the time it would take to spend reading a novel on a train journey in your, like, the 10 minutes before you fall asleep, that's kind of seen as almost wasted time. Like, where do you find the time to do that? And I feel that's a real miss.
I do too, because when we met at the bookshop, I was at the Ackley Prize. So the Ackley Prize is for newly published autobiographical novels. I actually think your brain can't take. It needs the creative side, because some of my best ideas in marketing have been inspired by either an advert I've seen on the telly or something I've read in a story.
Yeah.
I mean, so I use my model. Everyone's got one. Is the diagnostic marketing model, and that's sort of a bit quirky and a bit like, I diagnose the problem and I use all these doctorate type things. But that came out of reading a book. A different way of seeing it, not
Yeah.
just the regurgitated marketing textbooks that are out there.
Yeah. I wonder whether there is a sense that, the reaction I got at the table was not one of animosity at all, but it was more like curious. Really, you spent how long? Like, I haven't got that time. If I've got time to read, I'll only read this because that's going to help me do my job better the next day. It's like, I wonder whether there is a sense among younger founders, younger marketers, that even though we invented, or marketing has had to reinvent itself, let's not be stupid about it. It's not about us, but marketing's needed to reinvent consistently how it can prove its worth, how it can be financially responsible, not just deliver reach. Maybe older marketers get fairly, or unfairly rather, boxed into or blamed for the vanity metrics era. Even the ones of us who have consistently made the exact shift we're talking about. Like, I remember last year I wrote a blog, which I can't remember how it did, but I was very pleased with it, Lee. It was about, I kept getting notifications across all my channels from two AI created, very, very beautiful people, a woman and a man who were probably in their 20s. I fancied both of them, let's be clear. And they're saying, if you're over 40, read this and we can teach you how to use AI. It's like, matey, you don't need to teach me just because I'm over 40. And I wrote in the blog, listen, we as a generation have made more shifts and transitions than you could ever dream of. The fact that digital natives came in after me and AI natives came in after me, that's often seen by hirers, recruiters, and managers as a boon, as an advantage. But for me, it's like, do you know what? The fact that you're a digital or AI native means you never had to. Like, listen, I come from a generation that I come from a generation that if I was waiting at a bus stop in 1986 to go into Southport Town to meet a friend of mine, and for a moment there, as a strange kid waiting alone at a bus stop, there wasn't a soul in the world that knew where I was or how to get hold of me. And that is dead. No mobiles, no nothing, no geolocation. You didn't know where I was. I was on my own. and I was free to go think wherever I want. And that was dead time that doesn't exist anymore. Now, I reckon young people these days, they don't know how to deal with dead time because it's never a challenge. It's never, so that kind of moment where your brain can critically analyze something completely off the wall, it's never there because you've always got something in front of you to keep you relevant and on. So I reckon that's valuable. And by
I
the way,
think,
the shift to where we are now
yeah.
has kind of given us experience of how to move from one world to another to another.
I run workshops and I ban the phone. We might have a laptop because we're looking at the website. So I ran a brilliant workshop for a new company called Joy V. Love the name. Last week, we used whiteboards, post-it pads, and we only referred to my slides when we were part of the exercise. And we used search in the afternoon. But I think we covered more things than had we run it with AI. Because I got, we can run that with AI, but actually the humans in the room needed to work together. They needed to understand the pain of their customers. They needed to talk about it. Because when you're exchanging emails, it's a bit like pen friends, isn't it, and texts. So the actual emotion of it is lost. We came out with a cunning plan, which I will be launching hopefully in September on a new website. But we came out with a new story from that workshop that resonated with the human. And I'm going to say there was nothing wrong with the AI one. It was good. But I'm going to say this, though. Good is not good enough because everyone can now, with AI, everyone can be good.
Yeah.
You've got to be distinct. You've got to be in context, and that's human.
What's the opportunity here? I met you at the B2B Marketing United
Awesome. Let's
Magic
do a
AI
plug for
event.
B2B United and Rich and that lot. They're brilliant. Anyway, yes,
I mean,
we did.
that was a great. You and me met over hot dogs and
Yeah,
champagne.
yeah.
Tell me this: what in terms of? I think there alone, there was 4 or 5 people I've caught up with since who are on the market, shouldn't be on the market, have got stunning amounts of value to add, but just can't break through this barrier of feeling outdated. I reckon there must be a campaign in us all that's dead easy to run, almost self-runs, but we sort of keep it spinning every now and again to show that there is, in a world of do more with less, you're missing out on a ton
It
of brain
is.
power and heart and soul.
Well, I'm sort of an ambassador for this mentoring, this apprenticeship thing, and I think when founders hear this, and also, so the average lifespan of a CMO, according to Shane Redding, is under a year now in a
Really?
B2B startup. So B2B startup, you get your funding, you think, I'm going to nick this person from a SaaS company, they're probably mid-30s, bring them on at this huge salary, and they want the support they had in the one they've grown. So they want more, so they spend more, they burn through your money, and then it doesn't work for either party. Whereas if you've got a fractional, you've just got your money. The fractional, like me, has spent that money sensibly and built brands before and will stop you doing an AI thing like Google this, do the website that. It'll take you on a more contextual journey, which AI can't do. It'll understand where you are, it'll understand where your customers are, and it'll build that team. And so me 2 days a week with an intern who's full time is my idea of heaven. And most of the interns, I'm going out for pizza tonight actually with someone I mentored years ago. And she's now a CMO at a very large company, and the other one is a CMO in the civil service. So it's but they started as apprenticeships, a sort of, I've just left university, or in fact one of them hadn't even been to university. So, it's that mix that I think did exist before AI and software, but I think it's redefining it now. It's what does your structure look like? Because I also think in the beginning, founders will have a CFO. They can be, actually, it's really funny. If you're a finance director, age is on your side, right? For
Yeah.
some reason,
Yeah.
finance and age, ooh, if you're too young, you can't do it. If you're older, God, you must be brilliant at this because you're old and you're a CFO. So we're going to have you, and we'll have you fractionally. So it's sort of, it feels like some job roles have been, put into boxes of, oh, this is the golden circle job. Oh no, they can do it because they're a bit older. Yeah.
What's your pizza topping of choice just before you go tonight?
Oh, tonight I'm going to have a Fiorentina. So it'll be spinach with the
Classic.
egg. It's Pizza
Classic.
Express. So Pizza Express is still my go-to.
Classic.
So, yeah.
Where are you from originally? Remind me.
Windsor. No,
Okay.
and excuse me, I am not posh. I was born in Deadworth Green, if anyone knows it. I went to a state school that used to lock us out because we were so bad. So Deadrough Green, that's where I was born.
So I've got mates who refuse to get pizza with me because, despite being Jewish, my pizza topping of choice is absolutely the Hawaiian. And they've,
No!
yeah,
I just think
seriously.
I've gone off you now. That's my
Yeah.
mum's. It's like,
Yeah.
who puts bloody pineapple on a
Yeah,
pizza?
it's me. And we've become quite a strong tribe online, us pineapple, and frankly, the, the moment it really struck home how offensive I was being was when I was round at some very cool friends of mine, but sort of probably a class higher than me. And one of them was phoning what he described as a really, really beautiful Italian pizza place to do takeout. And he said, Mark, what are you having? I said, pineapple. He said, I'm not ordering you that. Order something else. I was like, no, that's what I want. He's like, I'm genuinely not saying that down the phone to this Italian gentleman. So you're going to have to. And I was like, wow, I'm genuinely offensive. Yeah, my sense is that about 5 years, I'm going to guess at 5 years ago, Mark Ritson wrote something in Marketing Week where he was a columnist at the time and said, if you are going to go to a job interview and talk about strategic um, positioning, targeting, segmentation, before you even do anything else, start genuinely doing the work, you're going to lose out to some young kid who's going to come in and just dazzle them all with loads of digital. So his view was, and I don't know if he stands by this, but his view in this column was just lie.
No.
Lie in the interview and then bring in the strategy later when they've already hired you. And I found that, despite loving Mark and having a great relationship with him, I found that really, really offensive. I was like, listen, I'm not gonna lie to get a job. Like, I've been through that point where you're faced with recruiters half your age that have got a list of words they need you to, and I've proclaimed my best sense of what the medicine or the strategy would be and lost out. But I can't get that past. Why do we have to lie? So I'm going to ask you, as a marketer, I've got loads of these people in their late 40s or 50s that are struggling with this situation. They're job hunting in a market that visibly skews towards the young. What would you lead with, and what should they stop apologizing for?
I think generally when I go into an interview, I ask them what they're looking for in me. So I always start with what you're looking for. Um, and then I do a lot of research before even I do a workshop. I put many more hours. And that's the great thing about a fractional as well, is before I even talk to the founder, I will have done half a day's work with AI, with my own concept, with pinging people that I know about them. So I don't go in blind. And I no longer apply for jobs. I applied to CEOs that I think I can help. So that's a different mindset. I chase. So I have my own hunt list of where I'd like to work, and I follow. So I watch out for the newly funded startups that are in my hunt list, and Claude AI brings them in for me, and I will hunt them. And if I really think so, I don't have to lie because I am picking up. I wouldn't feel comfortable lying. I might have to say, this isn't something I've done, but you've listened to me for 10 minutes. I can tell you I would learn to do this. So that would be how I would handle it. I would not lie.
Yeah. Do you
It's, yeah, no, I
do
wouldn't
you
lie.
do you feel that having a hunt list and applying to CEOs is the way we should all be applying for jobs when that stuff? Because we talked about this over tea last week. I think you're talking about ageism, but you're also constantly referring to the advantage of a fractional. I tried fractional. I didn't like it. You said you love it, and there's probably a fractional mindset that one has to have. I like being on the inside. I like being surrounded by a team with the same mission. I don't like having to um, onboard somebody else's mission and then leave it somewhere 6 months down the line
Or
and
the
move.
leaving, just say the leaving it's hard. Turtle, oh my God, love them, love them. Actually leaving something, you've been a success, but I'm very lucky, and the founders I work with tend to still keep me on the journey. So I'll go to their product launches, I'll go to their Christmas party. they're very generous, but it's sort of, it is, yeah, that's hard. If you've done 6 months, and I worked with a company called Omnipresent last year, for nearly 9 months, and I knew I had to leave. It was still hard. It was still hard.
And do
It's
you
still
find that there's a lot of people in between jobs who are calling themselves fractional, even though they're
hard.
applying for full time?
Yeah, so I'll help anyone. I write a column. I have a little group called Fractional. Someone who's been made redundant wants to fill the gap. They've got a mortgage to pay. They may not have, I call it a swan reserve. So a swan reserve, when you're working, anyone watching this who is working, have a swan reserve. This is your sleep well at night fund. On payday, without fail, put what you can afford into something you can't touch. A savings scheme, premium bonds if you're a bit of a gambler, but make sure you put that into a fund, because everybody in employment is. I had a really good designer text me last night who wasn't expecting redundancy, and it happened on Friday. He hasn't got a swan. You know, so while you're working, do that, have it. It's not in our nature, because I love spending money. I love a bit of, I've got wham walking about money, but I have a swan. And I think you need that. But so when you've been made redundant, you've got a bit of money, you buy a car, you go on holiday, you expect to get a job, you don't. So you suddenly think, I'm going to be fractional. Here lies the problem. So maybe you've been at Gartner or somewhere in a big marketing team, or run a big marketing team. You are, if you've been there more than 2 years, you are institutionalized. You know that product, that market, your tech stack, your agencies, but you might have been challenged, but not in the way someone else has been challenged, because you've been working that matrix. You have your too many meetings on a Monday. Monday's meeting heavy, and then you do a bit of work, and you've got your agencies, and then someone pulls the plug. And from that, therein, to be a fractional, you've got to do quite a lot of work to educate yourself on what's going on in the wider world. My advice to people that have had the plug pulled is to go after companies, draw circles round. So this is where you were. What are the adjacent industries you can go for? What are the same size jobs you can go for? And also look at why you've been made redundant. Is it genuinely that the business can't afford you? Is it more that the business has seen an opportunity to shrink? Because sadly, as part of my job as interim and fractional, is I have had to shrink, Omnipresent, I had to shrink the marketing team by 50%.
Mhm.
And the output didn't shrink when we shrunk the marketing team. So it's being honest with yourself. And I do help people be fractional, but if you are job seeking and you want to be fractional, don't underestimate the amount of work you've got to be put in to be fractional.
So it's committing to fractional rather than having one foot in.
Yeah, 1 foot in. You might be lucky. I've in fact, someone we both know just got a job, and she'd been fractional for nearly a year looking for the right job. But she worked so hard at being fractional
Yeah.
and changing her skill set.
Yeah.
So this isn't, it's not just gonna walk up to you, and it's not just gonna give you your day rate, and it's gonna be different. You don't call the shots. The person employing you calls the shots. Whereas
Yeah.
when you're in a matrix, to a certain extent, you call the shots.
Do you feel, as fractional, with doing projects, doing workshops, doing 6-month interims, all that stuff, do you feel, as we do in-house, the ever more prevalent weight of do more with less?
You do more with less is, so most of the things I go into always start with an audit. If they're big, so if they're a small startup who are going from £5,000 to 15 million, which I love, that's my idea of heaven. They haven't got any precursor. If they're, sadly, the ones that I dealt with last year had raised 120 million, they'd run out of runway, and they'd spent it everywhere. So I start with an audit. Generally, when you've had that much money, your tech stack's overflowing. You've got copywriters that you don't need to have permanently. This sounds awful, but you can do an audit, and you can work out where you can save money immediately without impacting the marketing. So yeah, everything starts with an audit. So I think when you're a CMO growing a business internally, you've got to be really wary of how you building the team is very different to when I was at LexisNexis. There were 80 in my marketing department globally. I mean, 80. Imagine 80 now. I don't know anyone that's got 80.
Doesn't
I don't
exist.
even know customer support teams, unless you're Bupa or Amazon. No, I don't think Amazon has that have these large teams anymore.
Yeah. So look, Lou, I've known you for about 8 weeks, and I think this is third or fourth time we've met, and you've become a proper inspiration to me on so many levels. Not least the energy and the pink and the fight, and just the sheer value. Right? Don't no, you did it. You did it. You did it. I knew you'd do it. I knew you'd do it.
Just for the audience.
But the value you add, this is the criminal part. This is the do more with less fire burning here is whenever I speak to you, the value that you have just pouring out of you through sheer, just even if you just touch on something that shows your experience, the value that comes from the people that have been there and done it and transitioned and shifted and adapted and flexed with the market 15, 20 times, but are now seen as outdated. I find it real, or just not even outdated, just politely put to the side because you're just not the profile we're looking for. It makes me so kind of part sad, part angry for the industry.
I have to say, I think there's so much talent out there, and it should be ageless. I know that some people now have CVs that don't show whether you're a man or a female, but you know what? When you've had as much experience as me, you can tell that I'm not 30. I did
Yeah,
7 years at LexisNexis. I did
yeah,
2 years at the Financial Times. That's 9 years. That it ages you
yeah,
already.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm genuinely delighted to have brought you in front of my listeners, and I can't wait to see what you get up to next. Um, and I just think all of your clients and all the people who are constantly using you and coming back to you are the smart ones. So thank you for coming on Do More with Less, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much.